We're going to be talking about value today. Value is a component of light. It has to do with the degree of lightness and darkness that's in a color. It also has to do with the degree of lightness and darkness that's in a neutral, such as black, white, or gray. When we're looking at a painting, we talk about the relation between light and shade in the painting as value. Okay, so value can be used to create form. It's used to suggest the roundedness or three-dimensionality of a form. It can be used to help us understand distance, how close something or far something how close or how far away something is to us, spatial depth, and also texture. So let's take a look at some examples of that on the next slide. So here we have 3 black and white drawings and then 1 color drawing. Remember that value is a component of both color and neutrals. So the 3 on the left we consider neutrals, and we have what we would call a lot of value contrast here on this black and white shirt. White, black. So this is just showing us a pattern or a design. But also take a look at how we have areas of lightness and darkness that help us understand the faces or the fingers as things that are volumetric, that are round, that exist in 3 dimensions. And then look at how value is also used to suggest space. The negative space between the fingers, is dark. So that's helping us, value is helping us understand both space and form in this drawing. In this painting, we see light values on the facial features and then dark values on the hair. And also you can see that value is being used to create texture, such as in the hair. So let's just look at a few more examples. Value can be a single color can exist in a number of different values. Here we have one shade of purple that is shown either with a lot of white added to it, creating what we call a tint, or black added to it, creating what we call a shade. Value can create form. If you look at this it's not a I'm drawing a blank. Cone. I wanted to call it a cylinder. If you look at this cone here, you can see that there is a glow of light right here on the part of it that's closest to you, and then it's in shadow. Darker values are used to make the cone kind of appear to move away from you. Similarly done on the sphere and on the shape that is a cylinder, you can see the light values here, dark values here. Color has value. So some colors just by nature are lighter than others and some are darker. So you can see like your purples down here, they tend to be low in value or darker value. Whereas colors like yellow, that's going to be a very light value. We've seen this kind of demonstration before where little lines or dots can be used, placed together closely. The more densely knit the little black lines or the black dots are, the darker the value is that's created. We have an example of value in this value scale right here where we show an incremental increase from light to dark in a series of steps. And value is something that can happen in color, where you add white to a color, creating a tint. In this case, red has had white added to it, and it changes it to pink. So I want to look at a slide by the famous artist Matisse, who was associated with a French painting movement called Fauvism, where the artist tended to use like very loud, wild, unnatural colors in their work. And I wanted to show you how he creates value with color. So her hair, which is kind of a bluish color, has a lot of black added to it. Remember that when you add black to a color, it's called a shade. Okay, so we see a lot of dark shades in her hair. You can also see in the green part of the background, he's created shades of that green, particularly along the edge of her neck to show space. He's trying to use that dark value to make the space recede behind her. When you add white to a color, remember that is called a tint, and he's created a lot of highlights on her face and just kind of created lighter colors in general for her face by mixing his paint with white. You also see tints used to suggest space in this purplish area here. You can see where he's added a lot of a lot of white to the purple. Okay, now we're going to look at an older painting, the more traditional style, in the next slide, where I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. We're actually going to look at an exercise that we assign to all of our art students in the next slide. These are called value scales. A value scale is a way of understanding for the learning artist how they can create value by starting with, say, a piece of white paper or pure white paint, and making swatches that incrementally get a little bit darker, a little bit darker. You find kind of a medium shade right here, and then you go all the way to black. And the whole goal for the art student is to make each one of these swatches exactly the same jump from dark to light as the one that preceded it. Once students have mastered a value scale in black and white, then they proceed to doing these with colors. So you start with a blue, probably this is the normal blue without any white or black added to it here. No, it's probably this one actually. And so these two swatches are tints. They've added white to it, and then incrementally adding a little more black, a little more black, a little more black, until an almost pure black is achieved. Okay, now to get to the painting that I wanted to talk to you about. I think I just got excited because it's one of my favorite artists. So we're going to talk about a technique called chiaroscuro and tenebrism that are used by artists, that were used by artists back in the Renaissance and the Baroque era, to create this volume that we're talking about. So this is a painting by the artist Caravaggio, and you can see that there is a strong light source coming from the upper left. You can see how it's shining really strong light onto Jesus's shoulder here, and then it's casting very, very strong, dramatic shadows. That's called the tenebrist approach, where you have the really strong shadows. It looks like it's on a stage. It creates a heightened sense of drama. And of course, this is a very dramatic moment. This is the incredulity of St. Thomas, where if you, those of you who've had any Bible study, know that St. Thomas did not believe, that Jesus had actually, come back from the dead, and Jesus invited him and only him to actually touch him and to actually touch the wound. And so you see that happening right here. Okay. Another tenebrist painting. This one is Georges de la Tour. Again, just a single dramatic light source. You see Mary Magdalene sitting in a very dark room with nothing but a single candle producing light. And she seems to be, staring very deeply into that candle. And you can see the room is just kind of engulfed in shadow. So it creates a strong sense of emotion. So these two paintings are utilizing a technique we call tenebrism. Literally means tenebroso means murky, and to use light and shadow to create roundness, to make these forms look realistic, is called chiaroscuro, which means light and dark.